I don't want somebody I love to think that I'm excited to see them skinnier.
I was always operating in a mindset of like, oh, when I'm thinner,
You will never talk someone into making a change by like reminding them how disappointed you are in their body.
the body
Mm.
is not a good representation of the internal world.
It's every day that I'm saying it shouldn't be this way. And every day it is this way. Oh man, we got an episode today. Hi, welcome back. We're Not For Everyone, podcast hosted by one hater and one lover, and we are about to do a full episode dedicated to body image. We're gonna try and touch on and as many like diverse angles of this topic as possible. We got a lot of listener write-ins, and I want to frame real quickly what this episode is because it's not an episode by experts.
Hmm.
It's not all going to be advice or answers because speaking for myself, I'm just a person who has struggled a lot. I've found things that have helped me, helped keep me out of the hospital, helped keep me out of feeling like I don't want to be alive, and helped me a lot in my relationship to my body. And there's plenty of ways I still struggle. So the goal here, at least from my perspective, and I think just feels the same, is really just to hopefully have an episode where we talk about things that we're all feeling, or maybe you once felt, or maybe we share some perspectives that might give you a little boost or some, actionable tips, or maybe we'll just commiserate on something that we don't feel like we have an answer for.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm coming into this like, oh, this is going to be healing for me. Like talking to you about it and just seeing what happens and what we end up sharing and what we end up being able to help each other with. I think that's like where I'm coming from. I don't have a lot of answers. I have a lot of experiences and I have things that have worked at least for a time, but a lot of things don't work forever when it comes to body image and
Yeah.
relationship to yourself in that way. And so, yeah, it's like an ever evolving aspect of my life that I think I've come to terms with the fact that like it'll just be part of it. It'll just be there.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so, anyway, this conversation is like a step along that on along that journey that I don't think has an end. But hopefully it'll help a little for us and for people listening.
I love you.
Love you, bitch. I'm so
I'm going
ready.
to, yeah, let's do it. Let's just jump in. And Jess and I asked you guys to write in if you ever want to write in with questions or what to do's or hot takes. It's Instagram. It's Instagram. Okay. Not For Everyone Pod with the number 4 is where you can write that in. We got so many submissions. We were immediately like, we'll
Yeah.
probably do more installments of a body image episode. I think we're going to do a lot of these because we just can't hit everything.
Yeah.
Um, but something you said just now, Jess, about like how it keeps changing and some things work and then they don't work forever, made me want to read something one of our listeners wrote in about, um, which I thought was great. Somebody wrote in and said, I found that acknowledging the variability of body image is weirdly freeing. If I
Mm.
know that I can love how I look one day, but not the next, or know that I might look terrible in a photo, but great in the mirror, it lowers the stakes around feeling a certain way about my appearance because my assessment of my body fluctuates so much more than my actual appearance does. In moments when I'm down on myself, I can just discredit the voice in my head because I already know how inconsistent it can be in my judgments. Anyway, I hope that has some value. This young kook sends much love to both of you and the pod for covering such an important topic.
Young
And
Kook.
young kook, we got a
Young
young
Kook is
kooks
their
out
rap
here.
name. Young Kook with a Yung.
Young
Why?
kook,
And then
that's
the kook is spelled
amazing.
Kuk with a little like the two dot thing
Umlaut.
on top. Yeah.
Kook.
Yeah, Cook. Young Cook.
That young kook, that is the spelling of kook. I can't believe I never knew that.
Yeah, true. Especially for that person. That message gave me goosebumps. Like
Yeah.
it was just spot on. It was just spot on. And it's still, even though I totally agree with it, and it is a very helpful mindset to have about this, it's also something that is so hard. Like with every day that you are like, oh, it's okay because I know today I feel this way about my body or my looks or whatever, but tomorrow I might feel differently. And the day after that, I might feel differently. It's also like that's an active reminder that I personally have to give myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a thing that now is in the background and I kind of just operationalize in my day-to-day life. It's an active thing that I have to
Mm-hmm.
remind myself on a regular basis. So I totally agree with what was written. And also I'm like, yeah, and it's proactive. It's like almost
The
exhausting how
practice.
much I have to practice that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought it was a great observation. I think it's one of those realizations that helps through basically any difficulty you can name in life. As you get older, you just realize that things change, they ebb and flow. Your body ebbs and flows, and also your feelings about your body, your depression, your anxiety, your relationships, your feelings of creativity or self-worth, like it all just ebbs and flows. And I think getting older and realizing just the undulations and patterns of your own feelings coming in and out does help a lot. More actionably, some of the things that changed for me when I have those days where I feel down about my body, um, what I'm about to say may sound so obvious, but I'm gonna say it anyway because it was a change for me. I used to wake up on a day where I, for whatever reason, felt bad about my body. And really, the feeling for many years when I was really sick was that like it wasn't suicidal, but I didn't want to be awake. I was like, this is a wasted day. I want to close my eyes and I want to go to sleep and I want this to go away, whatever bloating I'm feeling or whatever I ate yesterday, and I want to wake up tomorrow and try again. This one's a waste. And I mean, I didn't want to live a day that way. And over years, it eventually occurred to me to just be like, I didn't want to buy clothes that
Yeah.
flattered my body in its bigger state. I just wanted to skip those days altogether. I didn't want to like find ways to make it work. And now instead, like I have the outfits that I feel amazing in, even on my bloated or negative or unpleasant days. And I changed my attitude about being like, I'm gonna dress it up anyway. Maybe I do my hair extra good that day. Maybe I like make sure to go on a walk so I am a little less inclined to the depression of my apartment. Maybe I make sure to put on an extra cute dress, even if no occasion calls for it. But just being like, okay, it feels harder today for me to feel cute. And I would like to feel cute today because it's getting me down. And so I'm going to put in that little extra effort, and then we're going to have another day tomorrow. And
Hmm.
even that shift, which maybe seems so obvious if you haven't super, super struggled with intertwining your sense of worth, your right to be alive with your relationship to your body. But that change, it was a real one I made, and it really helped.
Yeah. I like the way that you talked about that because I think the premise underneath it is simple, but like the reality of feeling like a day is an unworthy day because of the way that you're looking and feeling in your body is a real one, even if the solution is simple. And I
Mm-hmm.
had a similar thought while you were talking, um, and while you were reading that person's message, because I think when I let go of the idea that there's like a future body that I'm going to have, or like a
Mm-hmm.
different way that I'm eventually going to look, that was extremely freeing in this whole thing. It's like whether I would have put it that way or not, I was always operating, and I still fall into this sometimes, but I catch myself a lot faster. I was always operating in a mindset of like, oh, when I'm thinner, or oh,
Yep.
when I clear my acne, or when I uh get abs, or when I, work out so much that my ass is like firm instead of floppy or whatever, then I can not only just like wear cute outfits, but then I can live. Like then
Then
I
I can
can
live.
actually be
Yep.
the person I want to be and achieve the things I want to achieve and have the types of relationships that I want. But not until that happens. And the more time passed and I didn't arrive at this like imaginary dream look that I had been thinking I would achieve, the more I was like, this is not happening. Like, I've been saying this forever and it hasn't happened yet. And I don't think it's coming. And meanwhile, I'm just waiting. Like, I'm just waiting to live the life that I want.
Hmm.
Just because I'm imagining myself in the future looking differently than I look today. And therefore, like, I can't imagine myself in the future. Me in the future is different than me today. And that is it breaks it. It breaks the ability to think about the future. Um, so I just started to realize like one of the big blocks I have in life that's like holding me back from a lot of different things is this idea that I'm going to look different. And
Yeah.
once that clicked and I started to just appreciate how I am now by the clothes that I like what you said, like clothes that you'll feel good in on a bloated day, clothes that are your size and who cares what the size is inside because nobody else is looking at it. Like just buying the stuff and wearing the stuff and um highlighting the parts of you that you like the most, that that can make a world of difference, just accepting where you are now and not
Hmm.
thinking about it as like, oh, one day when I'm better or one day when I'm different or one day when I have the look that I don't have. You could still one day get that. I don't know. Like plenty of people have huge physical transformations, but um it's not something to wait for. It's not something that's just like going to come and find you and make everything better.
Yeah. The something that occurred to me at one point and always felt really sad was this feeling of constantly being in a fight with my body, like constantly. And a lot of people wrote in about this. Somebody wrote in and said they want to talk about how to be okay with your body when you're chronically ill and feel at war with it.
Mm,
And I DM'd this listener a little bit to understand more of the specifics of her chronic illness, because on the topic of body image, I did want to be able to cover some diverse topics, including chronic illness, including disability, and the relationship to your body over a lifetime. She was so sweet. I asked some of my friends who have chronic illnesses and disabilities to weigh in because it's not a first person experience Jess or I have had. However, people didn't actually feel it's so personal. I couldn't actually find someone who felt comfortable weighing in on such a personal topic. But I just wanted to first acknowledge that, like, I hear you. I want to represent you here. We messaged a little bit. And the part of this that, I can't understand that experience of chronic illness, but the part that I think actually a lot of people can relate to is like the feeling that you're at war with your body for a lifetime. And of course, it's different. I'm not going to say that our experiences are the same, but that feeling I noticed in myself and how sad it felt, just like constant to like how sad it would be to forever not accept what is.
hmm
Um, and I'm not even sure what my point is. I think I just noticed like it was every day. It's every day that I'm saying it shouldn't be this way. And every day it is this way. And like I didn't want to live my life like that. And it's not that I just like chose all of my body issues away, but I did feel like I want to stop fighting with my body to this degree. Like I have this fight every day, all day long. What am I doing? And again, want to reiterate, of course, that's different than this listener's experience, but it was important to me in relationship to my body to notice like that life felt sad to me.
hmm
And if there is a choice in how you don't get a choice about like what your illness is or your disability or or much else about your body, but you do have a choice in how you relate to it. And that could take years of therapy. It could take an ayahuasca trip. I don't know what it
hmm
takes, but like it did feel like I could eventually get in touch with the choice of like, I don't really want to be hating this every day. What a waste of my life.
Yeah.
Um, and the other thing you said about like, yeah, when we were talking about like the clothes you feel cute in, I think another adjustment was I realized at one point when I was really ill with my eating disorder, my standard for when my body was acceptable, my standard was that I have to be able to look cute in any single given outfit. the most
Wow.
like unforgiving, you know, thing. You know, there's so many things that like only a stick thin model can even fit in.
Yeah.
And there's so many things my body will never fit in, or like a silhouette my body will never have was one of the weird, like sick tricks I discovered through dropping to, 85 pounds in the depths of my anorexia. Was I really hated like my body proportions of being smaller on top and bigger on bottom. And the hilarious irony is that like losing weight doesn't change your body proportions.
Mm.
No matter how small I got, that remained. And in a way I felt like it captured the futileness of this pursuit. um and it also helped me realize that like it was a crazy standard to have, that I don't know why that got in my head, that I should be able to put on any single thing and look amazing in it. And if not,
Yeah.
I needed to feel really bad about myself. And I've had a huge switch now where I'm like, I wear what flatters me. And I maybe that sounds obvious, but like if you're really struggling, I think that can be a mentality that you have. It's just like you don't have to look good in everything, or you don't
Mm.
have to feel good in everything. You can just find the three silhouettes that make you feel awesome, and like that is the success, because that is like a human body experience. We don't all feel confident in everything. It just doesn't even make sense. I don't know if that sounds psychotic to people who haven't had like eating disorders, but there's some psychotic thinking that goes on. And that
Yeah.
was one I had to break.
Yeah, it actually makes sense to me in a way. Like I was trying to think of how I had an experience similar to that, having not had an eating disorder and having kind of like a different experience with my body over time than you have had. And the thing that I thought of is cellulite. I have
Mm,
always had cellulite on my thighs and as long as I
same.
can remember. And back in maybe 2017 when I was living in DC, I had gotten to like a weight that felt kind of abnormally high for me. I've always been overweight and I've always been like a thicker girl, but it was just like a point that I finally was at my wit's end with a little bit. And I was like, I'm going to really focus on my health and fitness. I started working with a personal trainer and got on more of a like good food regimen for myself. And I lost 50 pounds. And I think when I got to the smaller weight, and I did it in a healthy way, when I got to the smaller weight, I was like really frustrated that I still had cellulite on my thighs.
Mm,
And I was like, I've lost 50 pounds. I'm in a weight range that I haven't been in for a really long time. I look good and feel good in my clothes. Like I'm feeling more confident out in the world. And yet this one thing, the cellulite, is something that still won't budge and still won't change. And that almost was like, I think that was an important realization for me to have, that even if I get smaller, which was my big hang up for a long time, like that I'm the bigger friend, I'm in a bigger body, like whatever. Um, there's still going to be parts of my body that I actually can't really do a lot about, and they're not going away just because I'm smaller. And so that kind of started to help me realize, like, okay, the thing that was actually bothering me is actually a thing that I might just be stuck with. And so
mm-hmm.
let me find ways that I can be okay with that. And maybe that's wearing certain things. Like I feel like for me, wearing dresses and skirts kind of creates like a shadow over the top of my thighs where the cellulite is less noticeable. Um, I really have always hated shorts, so I like rarely am found in shorts. Although recently I've started to wear them more because I've gotten to like a new level of my body journey where I just don't care. But back when I did care, I tried to find what will work for me in this context of like, I lost the weight, I still have cellulite, it's bothering me, I do care about it, but now I know I can't get rid of it. And so how am I going to make this okay for me? So I think that that just is a little bit of a similar situation, like putting these impossible standards on yourself and then at some point realizing like that's just never going to be something I can achieve. The other thing that I was thinking about, and I think about this so often, is I think I was thinking about this when you were talking about how sad of an existence it was to be in a fight with your body every day. I think that that is a really common experience and one that, like, at least for me, I didn't become conscious of until I could look back at it in retrospect. And one of the big pivotal things that I've experienced is looking at a picture of myself when I
Mm,
was 20. And when I
yeah.
remember that night going out with my friends in college, I felt so self-conscious. I felt like I looked big, or my cellulite on my thighs was showing in that dress, or whatever was my big hang up with my body at the time. And looking back at that picture 5, 10 years later and being like, you look hot. And you had no idea. I remember that night
Mm-hmm.
feeling so self-conscious, but now actually a bigger version of myself is looking back at it and thinking, wow, you were looking really good and you didn't even know it. And so I think something about that and experiencing that a few times over the course of time has made me
Yeah.
realize like how I've not been living in the present and accepting who I am now. And then like in retrospect, it always looks better than it felt in real time. And it's almost made me get better about in real time appreciating where I'm at, what I look like. Um, because I'm like, in 5 years, I'm going to look at this and wish that I was there, or wish that I had enjoyed it more,
Totally.
or, you know, think I look great and I should have just like not been self-conscious at that whole dinner or that whole night out, or whatever the case may be.
What I think is so brilliant and constructive about that exercise of looking at like a past photo of yourself where you have a very clear memory of like how you felt in the moment, but then can also look back at just how you look is you get the experience of seeing yourself from the outside, of seeing yourself from like
Yeah.
another person's perspective. It's almost like a different person. And it makes me think about how I think a lot of at least my own body issues stem from how I imagine people see me,
Mm-hmm.
how I think the people I'm romantically interested in see me, which often is not at all how they see you, how I think my family sees me, how I think friends look at me. And that's not to say that there aren't super unhealthy opinions and super unhealthy feedback that you get in life, because I want to touch on that as well. A lot of people wrote in about families' unhealthy input.
Yeah.
But I think whatever I was imagining whenever I imagined how people evaluate me, it's in like such a harsher, weirder way than I would even evaluate me. And I only looking back on photos can I even really get in touch with that. Um, yeah, because I guess in the moment you're so clouded by like your own low self-esteem or like, name the body fixation you have. Like you talked about
Mm-hmm.
cellulite. I have and always will have and always have had cellulite on my thighs. Um, no matter how much weight I dropped, because I'm pretty sure it's genetic. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
not just having fat, it's the structure of fat beneath your skin and your skin's thickness and hormones, and it's a million different things. And and you're so focused on that one thing that it seems so big, like when you get a zit on your face and you're like, this is the largest zit in the world, and like no
Yeah.
one else even notices it, you know but I do think that exercise of looking back and like just realizing, not that it actually matters how other people see you, but if your own self-hatred is rooted deeply in how you think you're being perceived, um it's almost always off.
Oh yeah. And on the flip side, when I was at my lowest weight, because even after I worked with the trainer and lost all that weight, I then went through a breakup and I lost weight just from kind of like the sadness of that. And so I was at my lowest weight the first 6 months that I lived in Chicago. And I look back at pictures from that time and I remember how depressed that girl was. So
Totally.
it goes both ways. Like at times
Yeah.
when I felt not good in my body, I look back at those photos and I say to myself, I really should have been having the time of my life and felt way more confident, and I wish that I had. And then at
Yeah.
times when I actually felt better about my body because I was smaller, I've looked back at pictures and thought, wow, she was sad. So
Yeah.
it's just like the body
Mm.
is not a good representation of the internal world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has been helpful in detaching the two for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then also what you were talking about with like seeing yourself how others do, that can be so tricky because I feel
So
like
tricky. I know.
I've never I've never been like diagnosed with this or anything, but I'm pretty sure that I have body dysmorphia.
Mm,
And that is basically the idea that like I don't know what I look like. Like I feel really unsure at any given time. Like how exactly do other people see me? Because I see one thing in the mirror, I
mhm,
see one thing in photos. Depending on the angle and the lighting of the photo, I could see many different things.
mhm,
Um, I get certain compliments from my boyfriend, I get certain comments from my family. And
mhm.
so it's like between the outside inputs and just like the visual uh options that
Feedback.
I have
Yeah.
to check, I don't know what the truth is. I really don't
Yeah.
know. And so I don't know. On one hand, yes, like looking at yourself in a photo, I for me it really only works in retrospect. Like if
Yeah.
I took a photo
Yes.
today
Yes.
and looked at it, I would find so many things to criticize. But if I look at the same photo 5 years from now, I'll have a much clearer view of it. Um,
Yeah. Good distinction. Sorry. That is
yeah,
also what I agree with. That you need
yeah,
the time difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
Should we talk more
Um,
about like that outside input and
yeah.
how to handle or how to cope, which is something that I am still
Yep.
figuring out, quite honestly.
Totally. So a lot of people wrote in about well, I'll just read one. My family constantly comments on my body, and every time I spiral into body dysmorphia. I know they mean well, but the language they use to communicate really gets to me. I'm overweight, but I've started exercising regularly and am slowly seeing results. But their comments really throw me off my schedule and make the process more mentally taxing. I've tried to tell them this, but it continues. They just don't understand how to talk respectfully. How do I explain this? How do I explain to them that this isn't helpful?
Hmm.
Um, I have so many things to say. I will say, I guess, first of all, um, God, there's just a million damaging ways to comment on someone else's body. I basically think it is almost like in very rare
Off the
instances
table.
is it appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there are, it's I guess I'll just start with like even when you like something I think about all the time is like if I see someone losing weight and they're not at an unhealthy weight and I don't have any reason to think that they're doing unhealthy things, but they've lost weight and I am very intentional about not lauding that. Like, I don't want somebody I love to think that I'm excited to see them skinnier or that it's just inherently a positive thing to me. Uh, if they want to talk about their weight loss and their healthy changes and how they feel excited about it, then I will be excited for them. That's awesome that you're feeling excited about the changes you're seeing that I feel like that I will take cues off of them, but I really, really don't think I wonder what damage it does. If you've
Oh, yeah.
even if you've never said something harmful about maybe someone's body, but then you start saying compliments because you see their body changing, what the fuck does that imply? Like I'm very wary of that. And that's something that I see friends, I see family doing that. And of course, then they actually mean to be encouraging. They actually mean to say, yeah, we like this, feel good.
Mhm.
But there's what's the other side of that? So that's something I try to be really aware of. Um, and um, and I've also had to multiple times tell my family at different stages in my life, like how harmful comments were. Um, when there was one point when I was a couple years out of recovery from hospitalization and my weight would fluctuate and I had this one uncle who his sister had been anorexic, I his niece, he knew I'd been hospitalized and he's a fucking 65-year-old dude and he means well and it was totally love, but OMG, this guy did not know what he was doing. And when he'd see me gain weight, he'd be like, "Oh, I see you've gained weight. I like that." "Oh, I see you've lost weight. You should be eating. I see you've gained weight. I like that." And he would literally say, "I like that." And of course, I know what he meant, But, this was an uncle, someone I saw like twice a year. And it was so frequent that he did this that I ended up like, I wrote him a text. That was someone where I felt like if I put it in writing one time, I know he has no idea what he's saying. I know he thinks he's trying to help me. And I was just like, I said that. Like, I know this is coming from love, but I need you to know I would like to never hear comments about my body ever again. I appreciate where the feeling is coming from, but it's really upsetting to me. No matter
Yeah.
which direction it's going in, I need to never hear about this again. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And you know what? He took it a little hard. I know he's like made a sassy comment to me about it before, about being like, oh, you really snapped at me. Oh, you really that I don't care. I was like very even keel. I think it was shocking to him because he genuinely didn't know. And it was really important to say. I think it's probably trickier when it's your parents, those people you're really enmeshed with, and they just really care and they don't think they're doing anything wrong. And it is so fucking damaging.
Yeah.
Um, those conversations have honestly been a lot harder. Yeah, I've just been talking for a while now, so I'll pause. But also, I want to say that I keep looking down at my notes. So if people on YouTube see me, Abby, you can
Oh.
keep this in. If you see me like glancing away, I'm not texting, I'm trying to read my notes for this.
Yeah, and I was also taking notes because I thought of like three things while you were talking and
Totally.
I didn't want to forget them.
I know.
Um, yes, what you just described, I have so much to say about it.
I
So,
know. It's
and I
so
have so much
tough.
experience with it. I noticed in the person's message that at the end, at the very end of it, she said that they don't know how to speak respectfully about
Yeah.
this. And my reaction immediately was, well, I think that they don't get to speak about it at all. There's
Yeah.
really not a good way to comment on someone's body, exactly what you were talking about. Like in either direction, it can be harmful. And other people, though they think they're being encouraging or whatever they think they're doing, they are not, and they don't know that. If they haven't been in this experience, and a lot of people in, our parents' generation, they really haven't had this experience because it's kind of a new phenomenon with our generation that there's so much conversation and there's resources available and there's like more understanding of eating disorders and body dysmorphia and things like this. And so like they really don't have the tools and they've never really known how to talk about this and they probably have not been through an experience that's similar that helps them understand that getting a comment like, oh, you gained weight, that's good, or you look so skinny, that's good, that's actually harmful instead of encouraging. So I think that you have to really accept that like they're probably not going to get that. And so instead of asking them to speak more respectfully, you have to ask them to not speak about it at all. Exactly how Caroline said to her uncle, I think is like really good phrasing. And I've had to say that to family before too. And I've specifically the words I've used is, I know you're trying to help. It's actually doing more harm than good. I would prefer for my body, my weight, what I eat, anything like that to not be a topic for conversation. Like I'm asking that of you.
Well said.
And they have tried to listen. I think they've tried. It doesn't mean a comment's never happened again. But whenever a comment happens, I say that again. And I say it
Mm-hmm.
the exact same way with the same directness and sternness. It's disappointing to me that it's something I've had to say multiple times, but it is what it is. And I'm committed to continuing to say it. And I do think
Mm-hmm.
there's finally started to be more progress now that I've said it a few times over, the years. But yeah, I think it's completely fair to ask people to keep those topics off limits with you, and you can let them know they're trying to be encouraging, but that's not the impact. And if you bring it up, maybe that's different, but for them not to bring it up, independent of you. So
Yeah.
that's like a big, big thing I've learned, and it's helped a lot. And I also had the
Yeah.
reaction, uh yeah, I think even friends do this unintentionally. I can think of some friends who
Mm-hmm.
are very sweet and, I'll meet up with them for drinks and I'm wearing something that's flattering on my body and the comment is, "You look so skinny." And like, thanks, I guess, but like
Stop
that
using
is just
skinny.
putting skinny on a pedestal. Yeah.
Stop
So
using
now
skinny as
that's
a synonym
something
for beautiful.
for
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, that's a thing that I'm supposed to aspire to and on days that you don't comment in that way about my outfit, it means I didn't look skinny. And
Yeah.
is that good or bad? Like, it's just people are think that they're harmless. They're coming from in their intention, it might be pure, but the impact is so weighted that it's just best to not say somebody looks beautiful. That's a great
Hmm.
compliment that has nothing to do with their weight or their size, and
Yeah.
it's not something that changes over time. It's just like, you especially look beautiful today, or I love that dress, or I love the eyeshadow color you're wearing. Like, you can give people compliments, but um those ones can be really harmful. So yeah, I'm just echoing
Yeah.
what you said because I've had countless experiences of exactly the same thing.
Totally. One thing that's so crazy to me, if you um I don't know who you can go and tell this to, but maybe this is something a listener needs to hear or that their parent needs to hear. What's so crazy is that like if you commenting on someone's body has never like long term helped someone get out of an eating disorder or like lower their weight in a healthy way. Like you, as much as you want to see somebody change whichever direction they need to go in according to you, no one has ever been talked out of an eating disorder,
Hmm.
and no one has ever been talked out of a binge eating disorder, or like who needs to maybe have a healthier lifestyle or whatever. You don't convince people to do it. You don't talk it at them. You don't nag it at them. Like, it has never happened. You can make someone feel so unworthy that they go on a spiral and have long-term self-hatred, and you can significantly make their life worse, which might include a change in their body. But I don't think that's actually what you mean for their life. No
Hmm.
one has ever like been verbally debated and convinced into making these changes. It's something you have to feel and choose for yourself. So there are times in my life even where like I have seen people, sometimes you see someone uh low weight, high weight, and it's not healthy for them. And it's no longer like a uh vanity concern, but it's a real like quality of life
Health.
concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, health, quality of life, or sometimes it's a concern, even if their health isn't at risk. Like with some people, I'm like, I know you love working out and I know you care about this. So to see you drop that habit, it makes me wonder if you're depressed or like I'm
Yeah.
worried, even if it hasn't affected their, like, blood pressure yet or something. But the thing about those, like, no one, you will never talk someone into making a change by like reminding them how disappointed you are in their body. That will never fucking happen. It actually means that like the change is less likely to happen because none of us make big and difficult changes when we're feeling really unempowered. So if there's someone in your life near you, or other people are trying to get you to make a change that like might actually be good for you, the most efficient way to make it happen is to back the fuck off,
Yeah.
because only the person in that body can make that change. Someone who needs to lose weight, or you need someone who needs to gain weight, only they can make that change. And I do think there's other ways to support someone. I'm not saying like abandon people who are in like fragile situations, but that gets into like eating disorder support talk and like, lifestyle support talk. These are very different, complicated conversations. But my point is just that, like, if you're saying compulsively saying those things because like, but they do need to lose what they really do. Like, I'm not being crazy. They really do need to lose weight. Great. Maybe they do. And it's certainly never going to happen because you told them to,
Yep.
ever. It will never fucking happen. The best thing you can do, I think, is to like make sure so consistently they feel loved, they feel safe, they feel like they can share things with you. So one day, like, if you feel horrible about their body, whether they're anorexic or really overweight, they also probably don't feel great about it. Maybe they do, but you can hear how they feel then. And if they do feel great about it, you're certainly not going to make them change. And if they don't feel great about it, I would say like try and put your energy towards making sure you have a relationship with them where they actually feel safe opening up to you.
Yep.
What's going on with the eating disorder? Why are they struggling? Why are they so depressed? Why do they hate themselves so much? What's going on with the binge eating? What's going on with the lack of exercise? Like, why are you feeling so bad? What's stressing you out? What's going on? And like that is the only platform on which you can have an influence, in my opinion. I'm not an expert, but just a person. That's the only platform on which an outside person can have an influence on someone, is like through relationship. It's not through
Hmm.
fucking nagging.
Well, and what you talked about is actually like a proven thing in behavior change science. Like somebody has to be motivated to make a change from internal
Yeah.
motivations. You might be able to support them once they decide that they're ready to make that change. You might be able to influence them by being somebody that when you hang out, you go for walks together and you do healthy things or whatever. There might be ways that you can play an influence through a relationship with somebody, but ultimately they're not going to make a change if they don't want to make a change, or at least it's not going to be something done sustainably and done in a healthy
Mm-mm.
way. The
Mm-mm.
number of times that I've gotten comments from family members about needing to make a change with regard to my eating or my weight, and I have kind of like gone really hard at a fad diet for 2 weeks only to binge eat at the end of that 2 weeks and like go back to kind of bounce back to emotional eating and bad habits because it was something that came from an outsider and I felt judged and I felt um not worthy and I felt less than. And so I had an immediate reaction and then an immediate like counteraction and was right back where I started, except now our relationship is damaged. And I'm probably even further in a rut with my
Mm-hmm.
relationship with myself than I was before. So it's really, really not productive. And it's something that I think that people can have those types of conversations with loved ones to say, I know you want to help, but here are the reasons and this is actually science and this is how it feels when you bring this up and um just there's a lot of backing. You can stand your ground on something like that. It's nice to actually have a conflict with
Mm-hmm.
like family where you actually have a leg to stand on because I've had many conflicts over the years with family and many things that I've seen differently than them or wanted differently from them. And this is one that I actually feel so secure in pushing back on because it
Nice.
is like scientifically proven and it's proven over the course of my life and my relationship with them that like that way does not work. And it kind of feels good to have one topic where I'm like, yeah, you're actually, you're wrong. You're point blank, period, you're wrong. So if that is empowering to someone to say, like, you can say that and you have things to back you, then do. It doesn't mean they'll change, but you can feel really secure about pushing back on those types of comments and
Yeah.
just somebody in your life who is repeatedly thinking that they get to make these decisions for you and they get to like push you to do things that you might not be ready to do.
It's not gonna fucking work. When like think about anyone you know, who you love, who has like a consistent habit that you've decided they need to grow out of. Have you ever just fucking talked them out of it? They have to choose it themselves. So everyone needs to stop commenting on it. And if people can't stop commenting, yeah, like using the science supported research that Jess mentioned, or like I don't know about all that. All I know is how I work. And like I know you want to help mom and dad or whatever. And I'll let you know what. Like when I hear that from you, although I know your intention, it actually makes me feel so much sadder. And when I'm sadder, I get more destructive with my behaviors. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much true for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only one person who's in control of these behaviors, and what you are in control of is like how I feel around you. If you want to help, I would really love to feel good and accepted and loved regardless, and that's actually something you can do. If you want to participate in this thing that doesn't fucking involve you, just make this a nice place to be, make it a safe place to be.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking about while you were
Wait, I'm
talking
gonna get
was,
some water real
oh,
quick. You keep
okay.
talking, but I'm listening. I'm gonna get some water.
Okay. Um, Another thing that I was thinking about is those moments when maybe you've arrived at your own like point of accepting your body or whatever appeals to you, whether it's loving your body, accepting your body, being neutral about your body, something else. You've arrived at a point where you're okay. And somebody, maybe a family member, makes a comment to knock you out of that. Like
Uh-huh.
that has happened to me so many times where I've arrived at a point of like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to be built this way and I'm going to have the cellulite and I know that I'm doing everything I can to be healthy and I just had a doctor's appointment where they kind of checked everything for my primary care visit and I'm in a good place. And like, I actually feel okay from a health perspective, from a knowing I'm doing what I can to take care of myself perspective, and from a physical perspective. Like, I actually kind of like how I look. I've arrived there over and over again in my life. I've arrived there.
Mm-hmm.
And then a comment from a family member of like, have you been, have you been going to the gym? Or like, even if it's a question, a lot of times it's like an innocuous question is how they try to put it in there. Oh, have you been going to the gym? Oh, have you been keeping up with cooking at home? Just little things that somebody could disguise as like, oh, I'm just
Yeah.
checking on you and your life.
Yeah.
Um, that can knock me right out of feeling really good and being in a place where I'm actually accepting where I'm at. And so I think that's something that people need to recognize too, is just because you have deemed that someone is overweight or somebody is not being active enough or that they're probably um, self-conscious about something with regard to their body or their looks, that doesn't mean they are. They actually could be very good with how they're looking and feeling. And you just introduced a new thing for them now to worry about. So
Yeah.
I just, I'm just, I don't even know what my
Yeah.
point is. I just think there's so many ways that like commenting on other people can rear its head.
I don't think
And
they,
you
why
don't
ever
know
do
where
it?
somebody is.
Why do it? Yeah.
Yeah, you're making so many assumptions. You're assuming that they want to hear what you have to say about it. You're assuming that they also feel this way about themselves. You're
Yeah.
assuming, there's a lot of assumptions that happen about bigger people and their health. You're assuming just because somebody appears overweight that they're unhealthy. Like there's so many ways that it's the same thing goes for people who are really thin. Like there are some people who are just have a smaller frame and a thinner frame and they might be totally healthy and that's between them and their doctor. And for somebody to decide like, oh, she looks too thin, like you don't fucking know anything and definitely don't
Mm-hmm.
tell the person that. So, um I'm not saying anything new. I'm just wanting to elucidate how
I
many ways
know.
that this can show
I
up.
know. Yeah. I agree. Okay, sweet little monkeys. This episode is sponsored by Shopify, and I'll tell you what. As I've said, I designed and worked on Shopify sites for many years. So when we were going to build our merch store, there's only like it's obvious. If you have anything to sell and it's going to be on the internet, you want to go with Shopify because of all the built-in tools it has. It makes your job easier. If you know nothing, if you know a lot, actually, I think we all know nothing. If you know nothing, Shopify is where you want to be.
I mean, period. It was so easy to figure out Shopify. I had heard about it before from so many different podcasts. And when we wanted to open our store, it was like the clear answer. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business, whether you are at the launch your first store stage like we were, or you have a full blown merchandising business and you just need a better web interface. Shopify can be that place for you. It helps convert browsers into buyers with the best converting checkout in the game. They have a ton of cool tools to help you automate things. They have some AI tools that make things a lot more efficient for your buyers. And ultimately, they just help me sell freaking cute hats that say lover and hater on them. And that is what I thank Shopify for the most.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, like working in web design, I mean, one thing that I know is that if you're shopping on someone's e-commerce store and it doesn't look professional, you don't want to buy because you're like
Truth.
the fic. Like, what's the sketchy situation I'm on? Like, you don't want to make a purchase there. So making sure that it looks as professional as possible is the only way you want to go, and it's really not hard. You just have to use the right platform, and it's Shopify.
Sign up for $1 per month trial at shopify.com/not for everyone, all lowercase with our full words spelled out, not for everyone, FOR in there. Go to shopify.com/not for everyone now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/not for everyone. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
I have
It's
another thought
exhausting.
that I
Give
had.
it. Give it.
Well, you were talking about this is maybe more in the category like moving us to like things that have helped. Um, you were talking about how your uncle would make those comments about like you've gained weight. That's good. I like that. And it reminded me of this idea that's like tangential, but it's called food morality and it's like a big
Mm-hmm.
thing in our society of like there are some foods that are good and some foods that are bad. And you are better for eating these foods and you are worse for eating these foods. You're a bad girl if you have the sour candies at midnight. You're a good girl if you have a healthy breakfast and, healthy snacks and whatever. And I learned about food morality through my trainer at my gym a few years ago. And just even having a term for what that is, because it's so commonplace. It seems so normal that we just refer to good foods and bad foods. And I think the
Hmm.
same can probably apply to like good weights and bad weights or like good ways to
Good me or
care.
bad me. Yeah.
Yes, yes. It's
I think
just good
that's
you or bad you. That's right. And so I guess I just wanted to bring that to the conversation. I can share about like how I've kind of worked through that for myself, but I think it's relevant to even just have a term of like, oh, this
totally.
is a thing and it's a thing that's holding me back.
Because the thing that you do with that information then, or at least I have, is like, yeah, I ate bad food. I had bad food. I had bad meal. I had bad whatever. And then it means I'm bad and I did bad. I did
Yeah.
a bad thing. I messed up. And then there's self-hatred. And uh, what I do when I'm hating myself is not like work really well on my goals and make healthy choices. I do something destructive in any direction, whether it's related to my body or maybe not. But like the undulating between like good and bad, the morality of food and the morality of you and the morality of your body, it just gives like more fuel to propel a bad cycle, whether it's a cycle in your habits or a cycle in your head.
Yeah.
And
Or a
yeah,
cycle like taking it out on somebody. Like this could show up in so many different ways. You could lash out at
yeah,
your partner one night because that day you were feeling really bad about yourself because of a food decision or because of stepping on the
yeah,
scale or something like that. And equally, you could go to like binge eating and, emotional eating. Like it could, like you're saying, it could be something totally separate from your relationship to your body and food, or it could be something that is directly impacting
yeah.
that cycle. But either way, it'll show up.
For me, like when I have those moments, and I still have those moments, I don't totally get away from the food morality, which I don't know if in a way I feel like maybe there's always going to be some kind of feeling if you have any kind of goals, um, whether it's a habit goal or whatever it is, a body goal or a workout goal or a lifestyle routine goal or just like your mental health goal, whatever. We all have goals all over the place for our life that can be healthy, and you're going to deviate from them all the time. And for me, when those moments come up where I'm like, well, I kind of went overboard there. Like, that wasn't the thing I really intended to do, and I'm having a negative feeling about it. My first step, okay, I have a negative feeling. My second step is I absolutely flat out refuse to do something reactive in this moment. At a time in my life that was okay, I absolutely refuse to you know, make myself sick. um I'm just going to sit with this negative feeling I have, and I'm going to take specific pride in the fact that, okay, maybe I have a negative feeling about that, but I'm now going to have a positive feeling about the fact that I'm not being
Mm-hmm.
reactive to it. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing something destructive now, and I can feel positive about that. And then later on in my life, it might have been like, oh, I had a bad night, and now I'm going to restrict more because I had a cheat day, I had a naughty day, I
Yeah.
binged, and I still can have negative feelings and judgments because I'm a human person. But I then get to have a feeling of pride and positivity in that, okay, I still had a negative feeling of judgment towards myself, but I'm not going to react to it. I'm not going to go on a binge diet. I'm just going to have a balanced day tomorrow. And no, it's not going to immediately make my body change or calories disappear, but that is me working in a positive way towards like living healthily, which is not being reactive to negative feelings like that, not taking
Mm-hmm.
negative feelings out on my body. And then some at this point, because I that's not a risk for me anymore. It's just, I'm not going to be reactive as much in how I beat myself up mentally. So all of those things, like whatever cycle you're stuck in, um, there will sometimes, I think, be moments of negative feelings still, but I think you can like layer on top of it a positive feeling of pride that you like don't take steps in your destructive cycle. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah, I think I really like that. Like the next move, okay, that move made me feel bad, but I can to make my next move a little bit better, a step in the right
Yeah.
direction.
And by better, I just mean like something not better like diet, not better
Yeah.
like skinny girl, but better like I can look at the child version of me and be proud of her.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Another thing that helped me, and maybe, I don't know, I feel like the realization I had from this was maybe obvious to some people, but it was not obvious to me when I was working with my trainer on kind of like breaking the cycle with food morality. Of course, acknowledging that those feelings will come up. And especially, like you said, like if you're a person that's struggled with this over time, if you're a person that's
Yeah.
learning the word food morality, it's because you're probably always going to kind of struggle with it.
Yeah.
But
We're not all
nevertheless,
enlightened yet. So
yeah,
I don't know what day I'll be enlightened. We'll see.
yeah, until then, I'm gonna use these terms and try my best. But something that he had me do was he was like, "What is one of those foods that you feel is a bad food?" And I said, "Fries that you love, a bad food that you love." And I said, "Fries." And he was like, "Okay, I want you to buy a bag of frozen fries. I get that that's not the same as McDonald's, but they're actually really good if you have an air fryer." He said, "Buy a bag of frozen fries, the brand that you like the best and that it seems really exciting to throw in the air fryer and eat. And I want you to eat a serving of them, or actually as much of them as you want every day with a meal, whichever meal you want. Make some of the fries as much as you want
Mm,
to make out of them, put them on the plate with your meal, sit down and eat your meal like not watching TV and not texting your friends, like sit at a table and eat it and eat the fries and enjoy them and eat as many as you want to and do it every single day this week." And I was like, okay, like sounds
okay.
sick. I love fries. Like, this is what you want me to do for my nutrition program at my gym.
hmm
And over the course of the week, the fries got less exciting to me and less enticing and less interesting and less craveable. And that's because I was letting myself have them and I was
They're
having
not
them
off
every single
limits.
day. They're
They're
not
not
off
off limits.
limits.
And they're
And
not
so by
bad
the end of the
anymore.
week, yeah, I was like, it really did work in changing my mindset of like, oh, I'm allowed to have the fries. It's not bad to have the fries. I can have them whenever I want. And that was his whole point was like, you're treating this like a bad food and like it's off limits. So you're avoiding, avoiding, avoiding. And then when you finally have it, you're binging and eating a lot of it. And then you're feeling shitty about yourself instead of just letting it be a food like any other food. And if you want it, you can have it. And you also can feel in your body when you're full and you want to stop. And you know that you can have it tomorrow if you want to. So it's okay if you don't finish the whole serving today. And
hmm
that might be really simple to some people, but that was like a life-changing week that I think about. It was maybe a couple years ago that he worked on this with me, and I think about it all the time. And anytime that I'm feeling that guilt and that like I'm bad for eating something, I try to remind myself of that and think about like, well, first of all, it's okay and it happens, and I'm gonna fall into that over and over again. But also like reminding myself, this isn't a bad food. I could have it tomorrow if I want. I probably won't because I probably don't need it tomorrow, but if I want it, I'll have it. And something about that has just really helped me a lot um with my relationship with food, with my relationship with my body, my weight, and like whether or not I want it to change and the
Uh-huh.
way in which I'll change it.
Yeah, baby. Take the morality out of it. I like it because I think as enlightened as any of us may aim to be, feelings of judgment and negativity come up, and it is more about like how you relate to it. Um, I don't want to go too deep into, ugh, I love everything you said. Okay, I will say,
We can pivot.
yeah,
It's not all
more
about
body
food.
things.
Yeah.
No, it was great. It was so good. But I did make a video on this topic. Shout out to my YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
Called How I Stopped Obsessing Over Food. And some people have referred to it as a topic on eating disorders. It is not. It is specifically not, because that's a different thing, but it is a topic on like whether you are starving yourselves, whether you're binging, whether you are just like spending too like a mental energy relating to food in a way that's harming you and depleting you and taking up too much energy. That's what I'm talking about in a pretty general way. And actually, what you described, Jess, is like exactly something that worked for me. So I'll link the video. I am going to recommend my own video. I'm going to do that today because it's
Please
fucking
do.
good. And
It
it
is
meant a
good.
lot to me. Yeah. Thank you, honey. Let's read. Here's something sweet somebody wrote in.
Mhm.
Wait, I just lost it. I thought I had it.
God damn.
Wait, it was so cute. Where did it
Oh
go? Okay.
no. Okay.
Okay, I got it. Somebody wrote in with their advice and says, sometimes you just gotta caress yourself and sweet talk yourself, dog. Okay, wait, I gotta read that again because I didn't say it right. I can't
Yeah.
read. Okay. Sometimes you just gotta caress yourself and sweet talk yourself, dog. Be your own body talk bestie. I also, when I first read it, I read it as sometimes you just gotta caress yourself sweet instead of caress yourself and sweet talk. And I was like, yeah, you got to caress yourself sweet.
Caress yourself,
And
sweet.
caress yourself sweet. And I love that. And I'm going to give a shout out to our editor, Abby. She gave me a piece of advice that she learned in therapy, which I've never heard this before. And I love it so much, where every once in a while, um, she will just hug herself and do little pats, like
Oh,
arms crossed over her chest, like a person
I think she
in a
told me about
casket.
that.
And
Yeah.
she does little pats and she just says, you did a good job. And then you have to name one thing you did a good job about. And I love that. Sometimes you got to just caress yourself sweet. And you be the
Yeah.
one to be like, yeah, you nasty nice, you nasty sweet.
You have to take care of your inner child. This is like everything that I'm working on right now
I
in therapy. But
know. Ugh.
I just did it the other day
I'm
and I
sick
told
of
my
that
therapist about
bitch.
it. I know she's
Fucking
fucking
sick of that
needy.
bitch.
She's so needy. But I was telling my therapist how like something came up and it really upset me and I was very emotional and I was feeling very like scared. And I said out loud to myself, like, it's okay. I got you. We can handle it. It's normal that you're feeling scared about this, but it's going to be okay. I literally like talked to myself out loud how I would talk to a child. And it did really help me calm down. And I feel like that's applicable to so many things that we talk about here. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it can definitely be helpful for body image related things too. Like if you're just feeling so hard on yourself, or if someone's made a comment to you that was really hurtful and damaging, whether they
Mm-hmm.
knew it or not, like just talking to yourself out loud and caressing yourself sweet and saying, like, I got you. And it's okay that you were hurt by that. It's okay that you're feeling upset by that. And it's okay to like move forward. I don't know. Like, you don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to change anything about it. I can just hold you for a little while. Like, literally saying that to yourself is very
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, it is. I think the part that's powerful to me is like it doesn't actually feel, people have told me to do that before, and though it doesn't actually feel like comfort, it doesn't feel like comfort. I want to receive comfort from fucking someone else, but I do then get a moment of pride of like just
Yeah.
the fact that I am trying to comfort myself, or just the fact that I care to comfort myself
Yeah.
is like, look at
I
you
think you're right.
trying.
I
You know what
think
I
you're right.
mean?
It's like hearing yourself do that out loud is like, whoa,
Yeah.
I got over whatever kind of cringiness there is in this and whatever shame there is in this, and I just did it because I needed it, because I care to take care of myself. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right. Like whether it actually comforted you or not or helped you or not, it's just like, oh, I did that for myself. I'm showing up for myself. I think that is what
Yeah.
changes things.
Okay, I have two little bippity bops, actionable things or like concrete things I think I want
Please.
to share.
Yeah.
So somebody wrote in, we're gonna serve this one with a grain of salt, but I do think it's worth saying. Somebody wrote in and said their piece of advice was learning that men will want to fuck you and like you even if you look awkward. And the grain of salt is that like of course, we're not saying how you should feel about your body is based on how your romantic interests feel about your body. But I also do feel that this was helpful for me to learn.
Yeah.
It was helpful for me to learn that, like, I mean, yes, I was romantically interested in men. And it was helpful to learn that, like, the standards, the like skinniness standard that we have, that we hold ourselves to and we often hold other women to in really unhealthy, insidious ways is very different than the standard most men have, like very, very different,
Hmm.
very different. And in ways that was helpful. Of course, there's other parts in ways that was not helpful. Like again, when I was like really sick and wasting away in the hospital, I remember my sister always being like, "But guys like a curvier girl," and I was like, "That doesn't matter. I want to die. I don't like myself. I'm not doing this for men." So part, there's a part of it that's like, I think this advice is irrelevant, and there's a part that I think is also really helpful because like, how is a romantic how am I ever going to attract anybody? I think is a part of a relationship to your body. And it was, this sounds crazy, but like I at some point started like making a note to look at people on the street that I saw in a couple, whether it was a straight couple or a gay couple or whatever, that I was like, oh my God, I would be so happy to attend their wedding, like strangers. I don't know them.
Hmm.
They probably have horrible personalities, but they look sweet, they look happy, and they look in love. And like, oh my God, I totally believe that they love each other. Like their bodies are just normal human bodies. They're not insane, like genetic lottery bodies. They're human bodies. And these people found love and they deserve love. And like, of course he loves her. And of course she loves him. She looks awesome. And I bet she's an artist. And I bet
Hmm.
he's fucking, whatever. And again, like sometimes I needed to do that step from the outside of being in the moments when body image was tied up in am I lovable? For those moments, it did help to look at people and be like, from the outside, I can see you're so lovable. Of course, I see why so and so loves you. Of course, I see why someone would fall in love with you. And if I can see it for you, maybe it's possible for me as well. So I
Yep.
do think there's a grain of salt there. And I also think it's worth saying.
I think it's very relevant. I think that people shy away from talking about this and like tying the two so closely together
Yeah,
because
I
it's
know.
unappealing. It's like, oh, really? Like we're doing this for the male gaze or whatever. Sorry, but it is the
There's an
reality.
aspect. Well, there is an aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a reality that humans want to find companionship and love and want to be accepted and appreciated as they are. And romantic connection has to do with physical attraction. And there are beauty standards in the world that inform our understanding of attraction and what is attractive and what is lovable. And I think we would be doing a disservice to ourselves and everyone listening if we just pretended like that wasn't part of it. I did write in my notes like dating and body image and
Yeah.
size,
Yeah.
but
That's
I
a whole
didn't put
episode we got to
anything.
do.
It is. I didn't put anything
Haha.
underneath it. I was just like, this
I
is a thing.
know.
I
I
know this is a thing I've
know.
struggled
I know.
with, and I don't really know how I've gotten through it, but it's a thing, and I want to acknowledge that it's a thing. So first and foremost, like, I don't think I don't think anybody should feel bad about the fact that that plays into their
Yeah.
dating comfort, dating decisions, um, self-esteem when dating, all of that. And I totally agree with what you said about like just seeing examples of normal people loving each other and normal people in a relationship. It does help. It does start to inform like, oh, okay, she kind of looks like me and or has a body like me or whatever, and she is loved.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I could get there too. I definitely think I started to do that at some point, whether consciously or subconsciously. I think in general, like looking for examples of people who look like you, whether it's somebody who's in a relationship walking down
Yes.
the street or people that you follow on Instagram or, whatever, wherever you're kind of like consuming other people and being influenced by like, oh, I like that person and they look like this or there's something about that person that I want to emulate and good, and they do or don't look like me. Like finding the people who look more like you or share something in common with you
100%.
um can really help. I have mentioned this before, but Ashley Graham is a plus size model who like her thighs and the cellulite on her thighs looks very similar to what mine look like and I like eat up her Instagram posts. I like go there when I'm feeling down about myself because seeing her in a bathing suit with very similar thighs and cellulite to what mine are, and me looking at her and saying, whoa, she looks fucking hot, that
Yeah.
is healing something in
It's
me that
so
believes that
helpful.
I don't look hot when I wear the exact same thing. And
Yeah.
so if you can find those people, whether they're on Instagram, whether they're walking down the street, whether they're somewhere else, like, and really noticing, like, do I care? I think people pretending that, like, oh, I don't notice when somebody walks down the street and has cellulite. I'm going to use that example. I think that might be true for some people. It might be true that you don't notice when someone has cellulite on their legs. I notice it because it's something that I'm hyper conscious of on myself. So I notice it when somebody walks down the street and has it showing. But my reaction to it is never that looks bad and that's more reason that I should feel bad about my cellulite. My
Yeah.
reaction to it is almost always, wow, she has cellulite just like me and she's still wearing those shorts and I think she actually looks fucking awesome. So why can't I look at myself the same way? Like I think that we don't have to pretend that we don't notice things about other people's bodies. I think we can accept that we notice it sometimes and that we can use it to our advantage to feel better about our own bodies. Like, oh, why am I
Yeah.
not so hard on that girl who is the same shape as me, seems the same size as me, is bigger than me, and she looks fucking fabulous. Why can't I
Totally.
accept that about myself? So I just think, yeah, this is an area where like people need to be a little more real and use it to their own advantage.
I very distinctly remember a day in college when I was still very much trapped in trying to perpetually lose weight. And I realized, or I like noticed that I was like coveting, envying the body of somebody much, much bigger than me, much bigger than me.
That's cool.
And and it was like in that moment that I was like, okay, so this actually isn't about bodies or weights. It's just like about, my feeling about myself.
Yeah.
And like I've said it before, and it really is true. I feel envious of bodies, or like not even envious anymore so much as like, I don't know, I can get excited about all different kinds of bodies as long as they're not mine,
Yeah. Yeah.
basically.
100%.
Um, but I really agree that one of the most constructive things, this is where I like to share the body image healing advice from Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, where he says, what do we covet, Clarice? We covet the things we see every day.
Mm.
And that is when he's referencing a serial killer making a skin suit of a woman he watched every day. But I take it to mean that, like, I really think it's all about focus. You mentioned like what your eye is drawn to, or that you're always noticing the cellulite. And I think it is about where you put your attention. And when I feel myself feeling really down about my body, I have noticed it's usually because I'm just staring at bodies that, are some something I can never be, and I'm focused on what that body is good at, something that I've decided I can't do. And I will like make an intentional effort to go and find, I have like Instagram accounts saved on my Instagram as well of people who are built more like me and they fucking rock it. And it really does, it just like gets me back focused on like there's something great that my body can do too. There's some outfit that my body specifically looks great and that somebody else can't pull off. And I do think it's about where you choose to put your attention, and it is a choice.
Mhm.
And I like stray from that all the time, but having those resources ready to like intentionally choose to put my attention back on that and be like, I could focus all day long on what I don't look good in, what skills I don't have, what assets I don't offer, what money I don't have, what career opportunities I don't have. There will always be options if you want to focus on that. But like building up a little store, like an emergency fund for yourself of how to focus your attention on all the great things you do have or you can do, or, whatever, I think is really, really helpful.
Yeah. I This is such a random thought. I just keep thinking about this because I was texting with a friend about it the other day, how I've been using
Mm-hmm.
this clothing rental service and it has been transformative in a lot of ways because first of all, I just spend too much money on clothes. I think a lot of that stems from body image stuff and like always being concerned about having the right clothes for the events that I'm going to and feeling good in what I'm wearing, which is not a bad thing inherently. Like for me, something that has helped me with my body image struggles is feeling in control of well, I know the things that I feel best in. And so let me have those things and wear those things. So there's nothing wrong with that. But it means that I spend a lot of money on clothes and I can sometimes obsess about like what exactly am I wearing and how exactly does it look on my body? And can you see any of my cellulite through the material of this dress? Or can you see too much of this part of my arm and whatever? So I spent a lot of money on it and I've started using the rental service. It's helped me with that. But another thing it's helped me with that I was telling my friend about is it has helped me let go of what we were talking about earlier in the episode about um wanting to be a different size and like awaiting the version of myself that is smaller because I just rent clothes for that month and I don't have to think about, oh, I'm
Mm,
buying these jeans and I'm buying them in this size. Like, I feel like I'm not really this size. And maybe in a
that
couple
is a
months,
good
I won't be
hack.
this size.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So now I'm just focused on what size am I this month and I'll rent that. And
Oh,
it's
that's
really
great.
helpful. And another thing that what actually made me think of this while you were talking was that there's pictures of normal people on this site.
Yeah.
And
I think
they
we can
show
say what
off
it's
how
called.
they look in their clothes. I've been using Newly, but there's a few different places that do a
Yeah, yeah,
similar
yeah.
thing. And I know I've talked about it a lot, but it just like really has helped me in a lot of ways.
It's great.
And people will post reviews of things that they rented and what height they are, what weight they are, what size they usually wear, what size they ordered, how it fit them, and they'll post a picture. And so I'm flipping through when I'm shopping now on this site, instead of flipping through models, I'm flipping
Mm-hmm.
through normal people who are
Yeah.
wearing the thing and they said I'm this weight and I'm this height and I can look at somebody who has a very similar shape and size to me and say, oh my gosh, that looked awesome on her. Okay, she ordered this size. It's not shameful for me to order that size because I'm looking at a person who I think looks really good and they're wearing it.
Yeah.
And I'm only renting it for this month. And like, it just helps me get over a lot of the hangups I have when it comes to dressing my body. And it's another example of a place where I've gotten to see real people wearing things um, and relate to them rather than like models and people who just don't have
Dude,
the body that I have.
listening to you talk about this, I'm like, sometimes I feel like modeling should be illegal. Like, who
Yeah.
is this helping other than, I guess, people trying to make money? But oh my God, it doesn't, whatever. Okay. That's awesome though. It's
Yeah.
an actual tool that has made a significant, like, actionable difference in how you relate. I do think that I totally get that feeling of like, oh, but now I'm spending so much money on clothes. But I also felt like that was such a milestone of
Yeah.
like a healthy moment for me when people wrote in about this too, of that feeling of being like, well, I don't want to buy new clothes in my bigger size or my different, however you've decided what your bad body moment is. I don't want to spend clothes on me in this moment. It's like um I don't want to be nice to me in this moment because I've decided I don't deserve it until later. And there's I think it was a viral Instagram reel going around that was like, most of the time people have the same relationship to money as they do to their body or to
Mhm.
money as they do to food. And I do find this to be true a lot. It blew my mind, which was just like, yeah, I'm not good enough to spend money on. I'm not good enough to spend calories on. I'm not good enough to, whatever. I don't deserve. I don't deserve. And it felt like a big moment of growth to be able to be like, okay, listen, I'm allowed to feel negatively about myself. If that's where I am right now, I accept. I'm working on it. And in the meantime, I also get to spend money on myself.
Yeah.
So I like that you found the solution that like also lets you save for retirement, but also lets you be nice to you.
Yeah. Thanks. Me too. Is there
Do
anything
you want
else
to
we
wrap
should
it?
hit on? Yeah, I think this felt right. We'll talk
There's
about it
so many
more.
more. Yeah, there are too many great DMs from you guys to be able to hit it all today. If you guys like this episode, please do let us know. And we would already love to do another one. Without
Yeah.
even knowing if you liked this, we want to do another.
Oh yeah, it was as
Yeah.
healing for me as I needed it to be, and there's so much
Yeah.
more to be said.
So much
And
more.
I definitely think we can incorporate some other what to do's that we got on this topic in just regular
Yeah.
episodes coming up. But if you liked this, let us know because it's something we're both passionate about, have a lot of experience with, and are working on ourselves. And share it. I would say share it. This is what I want for this episode. I would appreciate if you shared it with a friend, shared it with your sister, shared it with your mom. I don't know what your relationship is, but hey, it could open up
Lol,
a really
true.
productive dialogue.
Maybe this
Um,
is the way that you give them that little wink. Yeah, share it with somebody
little
who's struggling and needs a resource.
That's right. And or somebody who's struggled in the past. It just I think that this is something that we should talk about more openly and have more candid conversations about how these topics make us feel, because there's so much more similarity, even just in talking to you more about it, Caroline. Like, I know about the experiences that you've had in the past, and I've shared with you a little about my own body image, but just diving in deeper with you and knowing that we come from like a different end of the spectrum in a way, but we've had so many of the same struggles. Like, this is
Yeah.
something that people just need to share with each other more. I think it really helps to feel less isolated and less alone, and more like no matter where you're coming from, you're probably struggling with this.
I'm going to wrap it up with a quote I enjoyed, a DM from a listener. One of our listeners wrote in and said, I once heard someone say, "This is the only body I've got, the one I have to work with." And as trivial as that sounds, it really helped me with my everybody's so beautiful and I'm so ugly mentality. Because even if that's true, there's nothing I can do to change my genetics, my facial features, etc. This in turn made me relate to the saying, the only value our looks have is one we assign to it. Because I sure as hell won't lie on my deathbed lamenting about my crooked nose.
Hell fucking yeah. I
Yeah.
like that. I agree. I
Thanks,
stand.
you guys. We'll see you next week.
Kisses.